Hello. For those of you that don't know, I am Billy Brujo, the host of the show with the most mojo, that's right. And welcome back to the show, or rather, the show is welcomed back, or something. Point is, we're back. The world's first and only black magic cooking show has returned. But, of course, no sooner do I get my format back than I have to break format. This video is a reaction to Shadiversity's recent video about the Stiletto, which made me foam at the mouth yelling through the monitor at them. I know Shad is a somewhat controversial character for his various opinions on social media regarding non-sword related topics. But he and his team test out swords until they break, which is relevant information for me and my interests. And they seem to generally have some good opinions and practices when it comes to this recreating historical Euro martial arts thing. And that's the very thing that made me go crazy. They weren't even following their own rules. Guys, did you do any research at all about stilettos? Did you watch Scala Gladiatoria's video about the stiletto? Because you jump right to, the handle is weird, we should re-hilt it.
If I was to optimize it just a little bit more, because I don't know how much I like this little guard. And the reason why is I just think it's a little too small. See how it fits kind of in there? Personally, I think even a disc guard on here would be just a little bit better. I feel like I'm just making a rondel tech.
Well, that's exactly, I was literally going to say.
How did it feel with the guard?
Tolerable. It's not
little
nice.
Small? Little small?
I mean, oddly enough, yeah, I feel less confident in throwing full force in because it's hard to get it's so small, less of my hand is gripping it.
Instead of assuming that its design is purposeful and has function and that your understanding is lacking. Your first mistake, and it's a mistake martial artists make, is that you saw this as a martial arts weapon.
But more for self-defense uses.
However, the stiletto is not a weapon for combat, which is Martian, men in glorious combat, self-defense, fighting. And we've all had this discussion that knife fighting isn't really a thing outside of cultures that have ritualized knife fighting. What is a thing is knife killing. Knives in general are not Martian. I would say they were more Athenian because, yeah, you can fight with them, but knives are really for crafting mostly. But especially the stiletto is not a weapon for combat. It is a tool for artisanal murder and assassination, which is not Martian, but rather Saturnine. This is why you mistook the guard for a guard. In Scala Gladiatoria's video, he has this same realization that the handle is too narrow and it feels uncomfortable to hold like this.
Now, something I've noticed with the stiletto is it has such a spindly and thin little grip. Quite a short grip. You look at the length of it compared to my hand. It's quite a short grip. You can only just about get your hand on and only just about see the pommel, if you want to call it that, sticking out at the end. But it's also very thin and it's really quite small to hold. It's as thin as a pencil or like a biro. So I actually find these quite fiddly to hold. Now, There's a couple of, I think point up is much more easy than point down. Point down, you don't really have a lot of options. What I would advise doing is putting the thumb over the top to prevent it ramming, that guard ramming into your pinky finger there. So that the most secure way to grip it would be that, but it doesn't feel good. Although you might think as a stabbing implement they're probably used a lot like that, in reality, it doesn't feel good that way. It feels much better this way around.
First, he suggests a grip with the thumb on the blade, similar to how one holds a main gauche.
Now, the two main ways that I've found to grip it that seem more secure are to actually place the thumb on the flat of the blade, if we call it that. It's not really a flat, but on the ricasso, on the side of the guard. Now, this is how left-hand daggers were held when using them in conjunction with a rapier or a sword. Because the crossguard points out sideways, and for parrying an opponent's thrusts or even cuts sometimes, this is the more secure way because the blows will slide down the blade and come on the cross here, so you can both protect and stop, but you can also control. So if a thrust comes in and you parry outwards with the guard there, you've got this V in which the blade is momentarily trapped for long enough for you to push it aside and bring in your own sword thrust. So this is both historically backed up and also feels the most natural in the hand, to put it up the thumb at the side there.
And this is indeed more comfortable. But after this, he suggests a grip fingering the guard, which feels much more secure.
But I've also noticed something else. So when stabbing with these, you wouldn't meet much resistance. So you're not likely to have that guard slamming into your hand hard unless you happen to hit something hard, like a breastbone or something that it might be wearing, like a medallion or a button or something like this. But I have noticed that these feel a lot more secure to hold if you put one or even two fingers over the top of the guard. Now, if you look at the guard, if you actually look at the form of that guard, it doesn't look particularly like a guard. It actually looks like another piece of grip. So here's a theory for you. Is it possible that actually this guard is, don't think about it as a guard so much, just think about it more like an ergonomic part of the gripping device, a bit like an ergonomic grip on a modern fencing foil, for example. So if we integrate it with our grip here, this dagger now becomes very locked in, and then we can place the thumb up along the blade as well. This becomes completely locked into the hand and it can't move in any direction. And we've still got enough blade here to get easily enough penetration to where we want to go to. So possibly, I think, it would, certainly if I was using this, and that gets over the fact that you've got quite a short grip, it brings the hand further up the grip because you've now only got 3 fingers on the grip instead of 4. So I actually think that this is a very plausible way that stilettos were used. And also think about concealability. If you're defending yourself or attacking someone in the 17th century, and then actually putting your entire hand around the hilt hides the weapon even more. All you can now see of it is this thin little shank, and if you're holding this down by your side or underneath a piece of clothing, they are not going to notice that spike until it goes into them. Whereas if you hold it all the way down here, this is now a very much more visible object with the cross above your hand. If you integrate the cross into the hand, it's a more secure grip, can't move forwards or backwards, and it's hidden inside the hand. And you don't really need a hand guard with a weapon like this, because you're not like using it to fence against another person's weapon, you're just shanking them. It's a shank. So that's my theory on how to grip it.
His video interested me and prompted me to purchase a stiletto for my own experiments. I got the Dark Sword Armory stiletto from Cult of Athena. The fingered grip is indeed more comfortable, keeps more of the shiny bits concealed, and it brings up an interesting point of utility. It is often mentioned how stabbing into something or someone is somewhat risky, as there is a chance the blade can get stuck. And, of course, the most successful murders employ multiple stab wounds. Fingering the guard in this way gives a grip that is not only easy to thrust with, but gives leverage to pull the blade out if it does not pull out easily on the first attempt. Now, as you were attempting to stab through the mail, Tyrant noticed that it stabs very well in the reverse or ice pick grip.
Because this guard is so small, I just feel like I have less leverage there.
Yeah.
The moment I do this though,
Ah.
it's straight through.
which leads me to tell you what I discovered in my own exploration of owning a stiletto. The fingered ice pick grip, which does the following things. Feels more comfortable in the hand than all the above grips, which is weird because you would think having this ball jamming into your palm would be uncomfortable, but it actually isn't. It sort of fills out the hand, creating space for a handle that isn't there, and puts all the bones in a more comfortable position. Pressing forward with the thumb on the pommel seems to assist with this illusionary handle feeling. It provides excellent leverage for stabbing downwards. The blade is potentially long enough to touch the heart from over the top through the collarbone or neck. And it provides leverage for blade retrieval. The thumb placement against the pommel also adds another point of friction here to assist that leverage. And most importantly, since you guys keep talking about assassination and Assassin's Creed and concealability and stuff,
This is like the chainmail assassin.
but none of you are incorporating sleight of hand into the actual practice. As you have mentioned many times, as Scala Gladiatoria has mentioned, and as Scalagrim has mentioned, if something was designed a certain way and it got used a lot, that means the design has purpose and probably arose out of natural selection. You can't just go re-hilting something as a rondel dagger to fix it.
So what you're saying is my idea of giving it a thicker handle and a better guard is a good idea.
It's not to be used for stabbing like a rondel dagger is in the context of a rondel dagger. Seriously, you just thought you were going to fix a historical weapon because obviously those Italians had no idea what they were doing for 100 years. Imagine, we're in Medici, Machiavelli, Italy. Not on a battlefield, we're in a polite setting, a congress or a salon or something. You don't walk in your boots and pauldrons with your clanking blades. You wear silk robes, you walk silently, and you appear to be carrying nothing in your empty hand. And the form and balance of the stiletto make it very easy to perform this simple act of stage magic, resulting in the fingered ice pick grip. Just lifting the arm from the side of the body to the pre-stabbing position almost automatically causes the blade to move into alignment, almost like it's a hidden blade. Hey, wait, I thought I was breaking format, but it turns out I still taught a magic spell after all. How to prestidigitate an Italian murder machine. Anyway, none of you mentioned this. Not Shad, not Scala, and well, I don't actually know if Scalagrim has done a video about stilettos, but he probably didn't mention it either. Also, normally, for assassinations with this type of knife, the blade would be poisoned. In fact, the one I really wanted to buy has this neat fuller in the blade, which presumably would keep more poison on the blade the deeper it penetrated because of blade wipe effect. Sadly, it was and is currently sold out and on back order. So to summarize, the stiletto is the closest real-world practical equivalent to a hidden blade or retractable Wolverine claw. It's just that nobody actually noticed that except me. Anyway, keep breaking swords, guys, and be they Martian, Athenian, or Saturnine, always remember to keep your spirits up.